Welcome guys to our new radio show, Ranking with Telly.
Telly Productions! We suck.
Today we're ranking the Spider-Man movies, all of them. You like Spider-Man. How do you feel about that?
I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man has always been my favorite superhero. He's everything to me. I love all iterations of Spider-Man, and I think people are silly when they don't like certain Spider-Man. The stories just are different, and that's cool to not tell the same story multiple times, but to use a hero and an idea to convey a lot of stories. I love Spider-Man, and I enjoy watching all the Spider-Man movies, and I would like reading Spider-Man comics, especially like the really early comics from like the 60s. Good stuff.
My opinion on Spider-Man, he's cool. All the movies, personally, I think are the same, but in different fonts, which is exactly what they're going for. Some of the movies are good, some of them are bad.
Like, if you're just watching them for fun, to watch a fun Spider-Man movie, they're all good. You know what I mean?
Sure. I disagree, but yes.
You can critique them or whatever.
I don't
but if
think
you just want to have a good time consuming Spider-Man, they're all good movies to watch.
I don't think I would ever watch the Holland Spider-Man movies for fun.
They're funny. They're funny movies.
I like Tom Holland. Tom Holland's cool. I don't like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Not because of Tom Holland. It's because of Disney and the production and the screenwriters. My favorite Spider-Man is the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, which is everyone's least favorite Spider-Man. And
he does the best job at, his swinging scenes are the best.
True.
And his commentary while he's fighting is the best. He's the best Spider-Man.
Andy does really good,
he does
body
a lot of
acting.
good, physical body acting. Yeah, the body acting.
He's incredible with the body acting.
He's so good at body acting, which is really good when you're playing a character in a suit without, a face, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of his, emotional acting is very impressive. Tom Holland is too. Tobey Maguire, I'm sorry. You don't have a lot of emotions. Can we start with The Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Absolutely. I would put The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in Masterpiece. S+ tier, highest tier. It is the best one out of all of them.
It's so good. Listen, I have always loved The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I watch it for fun. It's like a little fun comfort movie for me. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I've always loved it. My whole life. And then, 3 years ago, someone found out that I liked it and was confused and told me that it's generally considered the worst Spider-Man movie. And
What?
Baffled.
What?
I was baffled, so I looked it up and it's true. Most people hate The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So I wrote a little rant, and I believe that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the most unnecessarily overhated movie because, sure, some of the scenes don't flow, perfectly, and the story is a little bit crammed. It has a lot of things in it.
It's got a lot of things.
I think that you just hate fun, because it's so funny, and there's a lot of emotion, and there's character development, and there's romance, and there's really good music. Oh my god, the soundtrack, and then the film quality, and oh my god, the swing scenes, it's all so good, and you hate it because the story's a little cramped. Get over yourself. It's amazing.
This movie, I remember when this movie came out, I remember seeing the trailers for it, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, this movie looks epic. This is also my favorite villain, Electro, what the fuck is his name? Tom? Will? Max.
No, Max is so funny, and I love him. The way he just, becomes obsessed with Spider-Man and, has no friends and talks to himself.
This movie was ahead of its time. It's literally, it's a perfect example of how parasocial relationships go horribly fucking wrong. You could, if you are in a parasocial relationship, and you're the parasite, you could turn into a mad, crazy villain. Don't let that happen.
If you fall into a tank of electric eels, you could become a villain.
Don't let that happen. On your birthday? That's so sad.
Will hate you.
Well, he doesn't hate him. He tried to help him, and then the police got mad, and then Andrew was like, no, it's okay, and he's like, no,
Oh my
you betrayed
God,
me.
The movie is also fun because Andrew Garfield occasionally slips into a little New York accent, and I think it's really funny.
Yes,
whenever
yes.
he does it.
Yes.
It's like not the whole movie, but then randomly it's like, oh man, this guy's from New York.
I wanna talk about
the way that the little song when Max is like villaining and it's like,
I want to talk about the soundtrack. I want to talk about the soundtrack.
go talk.
This soundtrack is by Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer is my favorite movie sound scoring composer of all time. He wrote Kung Fu Panda. He wrote all of Christopher Nolan's movies. Not all of them, most of them. This man, oh God, okay, the one thing I love about music is a big, fat, thick bass. The fattest fucking bass you could ever create, and you put that in a song, it's automatically my new favorite song. Hans Zimmer did that with Electro's theme, with his theme, and then his he took Mozart's what's it called? Mozart's Suite, and he made it Electro themed, and he added this funky bass. And when they're fighting at the end of the movie, and right before Gwen dies, spoiler, he plays this really fat bass song with Spider-Man's body. He's throwing him against the electric towers, and he's making this funky bass music, and then Spider-Man's like, I don't like this song.
He shot at me. Fragility, electricity.
Yes, and
my enemy.
Do you want to know who co-wrote? This soundtrack?
Who?
Pharrell Williams.
Really?
Yes, he co-wrote the entire soundtrack.
I have a comment. I agree the soundtrack's incredible. That was one of the things I put in my notes. I was trying to find problems with the movie, right? So at first I was like, this movie is kind of long. And then I realized all of the Spider-Man movies are long as shit for no reason. If you watch any of Tobey's films, they're hella long, and you're watching it and you're like, damn, it's been 1 hour. He just got his powers, and there's 2 hours left. All of the Spider-Man movies, all of them are ridiculously long. So I couldn't just critique this movie for that.
While I was watching the first Amazing Spider-Man, it was he defeated one of the villains. And I was like, oh my god, yay, the movie's over. And then another villain came in, he was like, oh, this new villain. And I'm like, what? The movie,
What? Another one?
what? And it's the movie's only halfway over, and I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, another one is you could say, and I think this would be valid, that the Osborns in this movie are not as good as Tobey Maguire's
definitely
Osborn
not.
family. However, they're not bad for replaying a role that was so well received. They didn't do a bad job. Especially Harry. They did a good job. It wasn't as good as the first. Tobey's Osborn family's iconic, both of them. But it was good, you know? They did pretty good for, replaying a really well-loved role.
Yeah. It wasn't horrible. It was alright.
So yeah, I agree. Put this in the top tier. I rated this movie 8.5 out of 10.
I rated it 9.5.
Okay, Spider-Man 1. My take on Spider-Man 1, I also gave this one 8.5 out of 10. It's a classic superhero and villain origin story. Both of the ways that you see the hero and the villain get their powers, and the way it contrasts each other, and also it's they're two sides of the same coin. They did both of their origin stories perfectly. It's a very well made movie. They did it wanted to make a Spider-Man movie, and they made a Spider-Man movie. The casting is good, the characters are good, the acting is good, and what else? They had a lot of color symbolism in the movie. If you just pay attention to the colors in the movie, which I assume if you would watch it, you would pay attention to the colors because you're that type of person. You would love all of
colors.
the
colors are
purposeful coloring in the movie. they did a lot of, like, show, don't tell, which the Amazing Spider-Man 1 also did this. Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 did less of this in the first one, and I was disappointed about it. They did a lot of, like, showing you what's happening and, like, showing the story and the progressions and just, like, delivering it in lines, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Movies.
They had a lot of, like, old comic style fight scenes, which you would like. You would like those types of fight scenes.
I remembered this. They show this in The Amazing Spider-Man when Garfield falls through the roof and he lands in like a wrestling ring. And then I remembered in the first couple films that Toby like fought as a wrestler, and that's how he like got his suit.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's cool.
That's a really fun part. And in the comics, actually, he does do that as a wrestler, but it goes on for longer, and he becomes, like, a famous TV star, and Spider-Man is just, like, a TV personality for a while, and he makes his bank, and then, all of a sudden, everyone hates him, and then he's not a TV star anymore. And it's really funny. I recommend the original Spider-Man comics. So hard. They're so funny for no reason. Okay, my critiques of the first Spider-Man movie. Like I said, there felt like a disconnect between Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Like when Spider-Man would give his little sass lines, they felt out of character for the way that they were portraying that Peter. They made Peter sassy as time went on, but he was not very in the first movie. And I guess you could argue maybe it's a confidence thing, like he's masked so he's more confident. But it didn't mesh. They did a poor job meshing Peter Parker and Spider-Man. They felt like two completely different characters. And I didn't like that his webs come out of his body instead of
oh, me neither. That's
making
weird.
his own webs. So I like that Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland changed that. And I didn't like that he was barely in high school. Like, he's, like, done with high school halfway through the movie, and then he's not in high school for the rest of the series. And I love high school Peter Parker.
He felt too
more
adult.
Than I like. Yeah, and all the actors were old as shit. All the actors look 30.
That's because they were.
Well,
back in the 90s and 2000s, people like 30-year-olds played teenagers, but they looked like 30-year-olds. So, like, unlike today, where 30-year-olds look like 14-year-olds. So
me looking 12.
Me looking 12.
I'm going to propose we also put this in the top tier. I won't say this for all the movies, I promise, but Spider-Man 1 is a really good movie.
I would agree with you because it's the original live action.
Like, it has some problems. They all have some problems. But out of all of them, it's top tier, in my opinion.
I'll agree with you.
Spider-Man 2 is unfortunately worse. A lot of people like Spider-Man 2.
The sequel
more
is
than
always
Spider-Man
worse than the first.
Okay. The beginning is the worst part. The middle and end of Spider-Man 2 kind of like, it redeems itself, but the beginning is really slow. They're worse at the show don't tell. They have a lot of really stupid, like, PowerPoint style transitions between scenes, which just kind of like blends into the next scene, and it looks like the movie was made in PowerPoint.
That's the early 2000s for you. They don't get rid of that for a long time. I love Doc Ock.
The concept has always been my favorite Spider-Man villain, but it still wasn't hitting as hard as the first movie, and I like the general plot of, like, how he's trying to balance his life between being Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And, like, there's some really funny moments when he's quitting.
I'm raising my hand!
He's playing and he's failing at life. But yeah, the middle and the ending was much stronger than the beginning, but it wasn't as good as the first. I rated it 6.5 out of 10.
Pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me.
Yes?
Yes, okay. So at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, they were setting up for the third film, obviously, and at the end, there's this government guy who was going through the Osborn facility, and he walks past the next 3 villains that are gonna be in the third movie. 3 villains in one movie? That's fucking crazy. Each Amazing Spider-Man movie, they increase a villain. In the first one, there was 1. In the second one, there's 2. In the third one, there's gonna be 3. And it was gonna be the Vulture, the Rhino, and Doc Ock. And you can all see their suits, and I was so excited for that. And they all look super cool.
Why didn't we get it?
Because I think...
I'm so upset.
I think it was... I actually don't know. I forgot why. But I think it had to do something
Bitches.
with Andrew Garfield.
I propose we put this in the great category.
Great category.
But I'm not picky.
I agree.
Okay, if we're being for real here, Spider-Man 3 was more packed than The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's my hot take. Everyone hates The Amazing Spider-Man 2 because it's packed with villains, but Spider-Man 3 was worse. Spider-Man 3 had Venom, it had Harry, and it had Sandman, all as main villains. All three of them were like main plot points, and it was very grand. And, okay, here's how I'm gonna talk about Spider-Man 3. I get that they needed the Harry plot to be, like, tied up, but his fight scenes with Spider-Man sucked. Like, they were shitty fight scenes. And it was so much cramped into one movie. And I know that they did this because the director was, like, really, really pressured to add Venom into the movie. Like, I don't know why I know this. This is, like, a little fact that I heard. Was that the director of Spider-Man 3 felt pressured to, like, squeeze Venom in because, like, everyone wanted to see Venom, and it was the last movie. But if that was the case, then I suppose that the only plot that didn't need to be in the movie, if they needed Venom and they needed Harry, was to cut Sandman. Like, they should have cut Sandman if they were going to do those two. Two villains is good for a movie. But on the other hand, in my opinion, the Sandman fight scenes were the best fight scenes in the movie. Like, I liked the Sandman's fight scenes better than the Harry fight scenes. Venom, it's like you can't really, I don't know, it's hard to call Venom fight scene. He's like pulling them off his body. But between Harry and Sandman fight scenes were better. On the other hand, even though it was packed, they did combine all three villains well. Like, they managed to tie all three of the villains into one plot that felt like it made sense. They didn't do a terrible job at combining the villains. And emo Peter Parker is funny. Emo Peter Parker is funny as shit. So I would give this movie like a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10. I agree. Gwen is a more interesting character than Mary Jane for me, and she's just like a better person. Mary Jane cheats on everybody she dates with Spider-Man so many times. Like, I'm watching the movie, and then she'll be like dating Harry, and then she'll be like crushing on Spider-Man and kissing him, and then she was like seeing that other guy, and then was like kissing Spider-Man, and then was dating Spider-Man, and then was mad when Spider-Man kissed someone else, and it's just, she's a little bitch.
I like that Andrew Garfield. I like Andrew Garfield's nicknames for his villains. He called Electro Sparkles, and I fucking love that.
Oh, that's such a Spider-Man thing to do too. I would put Spider-Man 3 in decent.
3 and decent.
It's not like a bad movie, but it's one of the worst. Okay. Amazing Spider-Man 1. I like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 a little bit better, but I still thought it was an excellent film. The film quality was excellent. Like, there were fun scenes. It also did show don't tell like the first Spider-Man movie. It had a lot of good emotion in it, a lot of good shots, a lot of good character development, really good soundtrack. But the plot was more interesting in the second one for me, so I would put it at amazing.
What did I give it?
I loved how they had a lot of pressure here with this movie, right? Because you already have the story, and they're retelling the origin story, which is why Tom Holland's didn't really have the same origin story, because you don't need to see, like, Spider-Bite Uncle Ben dies 3 times. Like, no one wants to see that a third time. You've seen it twice already, you know?
Yeah.
But Amazing Spider-Man 1 had a lot of pressure redoing something that was already done. So they did, like, a little twist with the parents, but they did it well. Like, it worked. It worked well. Like, it was the same as the original, but, like, a little twist, and it worked. And I liked what they did with it.
I liked that this Aunt May wasn't super fucking old or in her 20s. I liked that she was, like, 50, 60, and she wasn't dying.
It's more believable, you know, like, that she just, like, raised a kid.
Yeah. Like,
She's the least memorable Aunt May for me, but I agree, I like her age the best.
She's also my favorite Aunt May. I love her so much. It goes, like, Amazing Spider-Man Aunt May, Into the Spider-Verse Aunt May. No offense, I hate the Tom Holland Aunt May. I hate how young she is. I hate
also
it.
hate how young she is, but more memorable.
That's because she's been Disney-fied!
Okay, I don't like in Tobey Maguire's Aunt May when she finds out that, like, he had, like, a part in how Uncle Ben died that she was pissed at him. I think it's so silly to be pissed at, like, what this kid did when he was, like, 17, but it still wasn't really his fault. Like, no one knows he has superpowers. Like, no one... So from her point of view, it's like, she wanted her 17-year-old nephew to stop an armed man with a gun. Like, confront and stop him. Because he happened to go kill Uncle Ben after his altercation with Peter. Like, she was pissed at him for that, and I thought it was so stupid.
In the Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, I really liked how his parents, like, his origin story, like, the only reason why the spider venom worked on him is because his dad used his own blood.
Me too. It's sick. It kind of takes away from the whole, like, anyone can be Spider-Man thing that's really important, but it was a fun way to twist the original still.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
It was clever. Like, it was a fun way to, like, make it more interesting. I agree.
This is gonna sound really stupid. But the reason when Peter Parker calls his aunt and uncle, I thought that was like, I thought they were like his grandparents or like his grandparents' friends or something, because they were so fucking old. I did not believe that was his dad's brother. Like, I just didn't believe it. So I never actually thought they were his aunt and uncle, like his direct aunt and uncle. I thought he was just calling them his aunt and uncle, like you would do for like a family friend that you're really close with or something.
Uncle Ben?
Yes. That's what I thought for like literally all of my childhood. And then I rewatched the movies and I was like, no, they're actually really directly related. But it doesn't make sense because they're so fucking old and he's so young, and his parents had him at like at least 45 to be that fucking old.
They are. Would you like to put this under amazing? Because that's where I would put it.
Yes. The Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay. You're not gonna like what I'm about to say next.
I'm not.
But Spider-Man Homecoming is my favorite. It is my favorite Spider-Man movie. It's
I have
fantastic for me.
With the new Spider-Man movies.
You can like the other two less, but Homecoming is perfection for me.
I will say Homecoming is the best out of the three.
It is so comforting, and I like at this point you have a lot of pressure making a first Spider-Man movie because the origin story's been done twice. So instead of doing the origin story again, they kind of made a different origin story. Well, really, you could look at it as all three movies are an origin story. Like, and then, like, the next trilogy is going to be, like, him being, like, adult Spider-Man, which is really cool. Like, doing, like, an origin story over the course of a trilogy. But the first one, like, the entire point of it was, like, him realizing that, like, he's powerful by himself. And it just really got down to, like, what Spider-Man is. Like, he's just, like, a kid in a suit he made by himself. And he can defeat a bad guy with that. In like the whole scene where he's just like alone without his mask and like his shitty little hoodie suit, like with a building crumbling on top of him, and he like finds the strength within himself to lift it off of him is beautifully well done. Like, I think it's an incredible scene. The first two, it's like he gets bullied, and then Andrew's Peter was weird because why does he ride a skateboard? But it's like the way that like he gets bullied in school, but then like is still like peers with the bullies in like they're in clubs together and he like talks back to them is very comic accurate. I like it a lot.
Before I get into my beef, I will say that Tom Holland's movies focus more on the school, where the other ones were like never at school. Like, they were just in there for like 3 scenes max.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, in the comics, he's like always at school. Like, all of the fights take place at school in the comics. Like, he's just at school, and then, like, a villain comes to class, like, half the time. Like, the comics are so school-focused, and I didn't like how little he was at school in the other movies, to be honest. I like that he's a teenager who goes to school, and then he's, like, balancing being a teenager going to school with being Spider-Man. It's very, very, like, you know, like, the Spider-Man 2, it's like he's trying to balance life, and, like, how does he balance life with being Spider-Man? He's supposed to be trying to figure that out while being a 16-year-old at school, and I think that's what makes it really fun. It's, like, normal teenager and a superhero. And you kind of get the teenager vibe more with the fact that he is at a high school.
Yeah.
That's, like, it's what I like about Spider-Man, is that he's a teenager. Like, that's what makes him likable to teenagers, is that he's not just, like, a grown man, you know? So,
Yeah.
I love that Homecoming, like, made it set at school a lot of the time.
I hate the Disneyfication of such good, like, scripts, such good ideas, and they Disneyfy it, and it sucks because it appeals to young children, and I'm not a young child.
Yeah, Homecoming is my favorite, and I would like to put it in the top row, but we don't have it. But the rest of the Tom Hollands we will put lower. It's a good Spider-Man movie. It's a good Spider-Man movie.
Which one is it?
Homecoming. Okay, Far From Home is
Boo!
decent.
Decent.
It's, like, okay, it's a little funny, and there's some good storytelling, but it's not the best Spider-Man. It's like not much of a Spider-Man movie for me. No Way Home. I thought it's a bit crammed. Like, they do a lot in one movie, a lot.
Yeah, it was okay. I would only give it props because my favorite villain is in it.
It was a little fan servicey too. However, the acting was really good, and they did a lot of good things with it. Like the scene where he's beating the shit out of Green Goblin. Like, it was a little fan servicey. It was a little cheesy. It was a little cramped. But, like, a lot of good things were done with it. You know what I mean?
I only liked the Statue of Liberty fight. And that's it.
But that was, like, a good sequence. The Statue of Liberty fight was good.
Oh, yeah. I would say it was
do you want to
pretty
put in
good.
great? Is, like, can great be okay?
Yeah. I guess.
Like, they did a lot of good stuff with it, even if some of it wasn't. Like, it was Disneyfied, yes. But, like, there were a lot of good scenes. I liked all the scenes when Spider-Man, all three of them were interacting with each other, like...
Yeah.
Like, kind of, like, the way that the older two kind of helped Tom Spider-Man, like, understand, because they've gone through it too, I thought was really sweet. And then, like, the whole scene where they're just, like, bantering was fun, you know?
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse. It's good animation. It's a good story. The animation hurts my head. The characters that aren't the main characters are kind of annoying. In my opinion, it has the lowest rewatch value. Like, it's the only Spider-Man movie that I haven't rewatched since the first time I watched it, other than Across the Spider-Verse, but that, like, just came out. And I would watch Across the Spider-Verse immediately. Into the Spider-Verse, lowest rewatch value. But the animation's really nice.
I would put it in amazing only because of the level of quality. I don't think I would rewatch it a bunch. But it's really good.
I agree. The qualities, it's a really good movie. It's just, like, not for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
We can put it in amazing because it's good. Amazing or great.
Like, the quality...
Watch it. I don't know.
It's literally only in this tier because it's the quality of the animation. And it started the new wave of animation. Across the Spider-Verse.
I love Across the Spider-Verse. I would put that in top
masterpiece. Tier. I'll put it in there.
Top tier for sure.
Masterpiece for sure.
I would rewatch in a heartbeat. It was incredible. It got to the point of, like, what Spider-Man is. All of the characters from the animation was even better than the first one. Go watch our podcast on it. Go watch our whole review of it.
It'll be up
God
in
damn
the right.
That movie.
It'll be up
there. It's so good.
Right
it's
corner.
so incredible.
Everything in the masterpiece tier, I would rewatch over and over and over again.
Yeah, I would rewatch all of these. I would rewatch the ones that are in the first two tiers more, except for Into the Spider-Verse. I wouldn't rewatch Into the Spider-Verse, but the animation's beautiful. My, like, little pet peeve is people really often say that the Tom Holland movies, like, ripped off of Miles Morales' comics, but reading the original Spider-Man comics, I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies are actually, like, the characterization of it is the closest to the original Spider-Man Peter Parker comics. And I think it's silly when people say it doesn't fit, because like, the way he interacts with people, I think, is, like, the closest. The way that he's, like, a nerd at school, but also, like, interacts with his peers still, is, like, it matched the best. Tom Holland's one did it the closest for me.
I didn't really like that Tom Holland was, like, buff. He was ripped. He's supposed to have, like, a sleeper build. Spider-Man definitely has a sleeper build.
Oh, yeah. It's so funny. He so does in the comics. I also wish they made Andrew Garfield's wear glasses more than they do. Because, like, he finds his dad's glasses and he puts them on, like, halfway through the movie. But it's like he just has contacts in the beginning. And I think that's so silly. And they should have just started him out in glasses, in my opinion.
But when he gets his powers, it goes away.
Well, yeah, but at the beginning of the movie, he was, like, wearing contacts. And I think they should have given him glasses at the beginning. Because it would have helped the Peter characterization more, in my opinion.
I guess.
Let us know how much you disagree with us, because we have some very controversial opinions.
Next, we're gonna be
controversial in opinions.
Next, we're gonna be doing my favorite Marvel series. I don't want to spoil it, but it's not gonna be Disney-ified.
Oh, I remember. You should check out our podcast about Across the Spider-Verse, because it's pretty sick, and I have a lot of thoughts about
And you should listen to
Spider-Man.
the rest of the episodes. We just posted episode 10,
right,
like 2 weeks ago.
10?
We're on episode 12.
Man, we've made a lot of them.
10? It's not a lot.
Good for us. This is like the longest series we've had.
Yeah. Woo. Woo.
Woo. Bye.
Woo. Goodbye.